Okay, guys, so I want to talk about child training for a minute. I'm watching some kids today, and dad has said no to them. You're not going over to your friend's house. I had said no. I had said you guys can play with the water balloons I brought you outside here with your friends where I can see you, but you're not going over to your friend's house because I don't know the grandmother. I don't know who they are. Well, they insisted. They're, our dad lets us go anywhere. Our dad would let us go. Da da da. Well, I say no because you are under my care, and if something happens to you, I'm responsible. So on and on it went in the whining and the pouting. And so I said, well, what we can do is we can contact your dad. So dad had said no. He said no. So after that, it was tears, it was anger, it was all these attitudes. So how do we deal with kids when they have attitudes sometimes, which they will? It's the heart is what it is. So you really have to deal with the heart. And it was I'm bored. Well, find something to do then. So we came up with the conclusion that they could go home and clean their room. So that was what was decided. And work is good for kids. It helps them to let off any steam they have. But really, it's the heart. So it's getting in there. So I said, so when your dad says no, do you usually whine until you get what you want? No. No means no. Okay, so no means no. Do you sometimes keep whining? Sometimes he will change his mind. Okay, so usually he's pretty consistent, they said. When he says no, no means no, and this is why we keep our word to kids, so they know when we say something, we mean it. So, just getting in there and having some communication. When they're young, no means no, and you don't have to communicate. You don't have to really do a lot. You can get to the heart to a point and be like, okay, so do you always get your way in life? Does everything have to be your way? And when it isn't, you take a fit. So you do want to get in there, but when they're young, obedience is important. As they get older and they're teenagers, you are explaining things even more. You want more communication and definitely relationship. And there's more consequences. There's more, rather than, obedience and, if you keep it up, you're having a spanking. When they're teenagers, it's, you're grounded or you lost your, this favorite thing, you lost your phone, you lost this, and you teach them there's consequences. But you do want to get to the heart of the matter, and as a Christian you want to apply scripture, and so it says in Ephesians that children are to obey their parents in the Lord, and that's pretty clear. That's pretty straight out. As they get older, it gets a little harder to try to explain things and use different scriptures, but you are training them, so you want them to think biblically when you have your kids. But when, obviously it's not my job, they're not my kids. They are under me right now, but when you have your own kids, you are to train them. And I think a lot of parents don't want kids because they're afraid of everything that's out there. They're afraid they don't know how to handle their kids, and it is tough parenting sometimes. But it's your job, and as take it one day at a time. And I'm talking as a pro-life mother now. Take it one day at a time. You don't have to know everything. When you're pregnant, all you need to know is that you're going to have your baby, and you need to get through that without thinking of what are they going to be like when they're teenagers. I was actually scared to death of having the teenage years with my kids because I knew kind of like what I did when I was a teenager. And so when they're teenagers, though, you become their good friends, hopefully. And later on, a little later, not right away. You're not their friend right away. You're their parent, but hopefully it does turn into a friendship later on. And even the worst of the worst, I had a lot of trials with one of my kids, and even then it strengthens you and it helps you to stay firm and continue being that person in their life, that they have learned that they love you enough. You know, you love your kids enough not to let go, not to disown them. You don't do that as a parent. You love them and you take care of them, and you still, you know, you're there to help them all throughout their life.